are excited to be back in India. It's been about 4 years since we were last year in the marketplace, and it was really important for us to come back and talk about a lot of the new things in San Francisco, including at the airport relative to air service. And Kevin will talk a little bit about that. There's some really exciting news, but you may know that pre-pandemic, India was one of our, from a visitor perspective, was one of our fastest growing overseas markets. And then obviously the pandemic happened, but we're seeing that trend now pick up again from India. So that's really great to see. In fact, we're expecting from a visitor volume perspective to the visitor volume to recover to 2019 levels this year. And it will be the first overseas market to do that outside of obviously Canada and Mexico. So from an overseas perspective, India is really, really well positioned for us in San Francisco as a source market. So really what we're trying to do is really rekindle relationships with some key partners here. We have a range of meetings set up, including the airlines, obviously, but also some trade partners and then obviously the media as well to talk about new developments in the city, really showcase all the new things that we have to offer to attract more visitors from India and leverage the additional airlift that we have out of SFO as well, between SFO and India.
So can you give us some details about the pre-pandemic level and how much it is now?
Yeah, from a visitor volume perspective, India, we had about 210,000 visitors in 2019, and we're just getting to about 211,000 visitors this year by the end of the year. So that's really, really good. That's a really good increase from last year. And we're expecting double-digit growth out of India for the next couple of years as well. So we're seeing a lot of potential out of the Indian market. And again, we know that it was a very strong market before, and we kind of want to continue the trend and see what we can do to really leverage these opportunities moving forward.
Our market measurement shows there's about 1,100 passengers per day each way between San Francisco, the Bay Area, and India. So, and Air India has been a real bright spot during the pandemic with a carrier that grew and really made the most of a difficult market and made some big moves with their expansion in San Francisco. And today, San Francisco is the #2 gateway in the U.S. behind JFK. We're 17 flights a week. JFK is 21 flights a week. And if United were operating their full schedule, we would be the #1 airport in the U.S. for India service. That would add an additional 14 flights a week if United was operating at full capacity. So it's an exciting story. It's our fastest growing market between two very important global regions and global economies.
So which are the major airlines having direct flight between San Francisco, and which are the other cities you're connecting with in India?
In India, we have Delhi, Mumbai, and Bengaluru. And those, that started with Delhi service in 2015 initially. There was expansion, obviously, as I mentioned, over the last couple of years with COVID. And, we see future opportunity in other markets. Hyderabad and Chennai, I think, are prospect markets that could certainly support service as we see it today.
So you're having 3 and you're planning to have another 2 more. Most of these are for Air India or United as well?
To be seen.
Yeah, I mean, markets are markets. So whether, I think Russian airspace certainly complicates United's plans in India right now. So Air India seems to be moving rather aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
So
if I could just
yeah, go ahead.
Just add, I mentioned the visitor volume numbers, Lalit, but also from a spend perspective, we're seeing really significant growth in terms of the visitor spending out of India. And for 2023, we're expecting that number to be almost $440 million. And then for 2024, we're expecting another 63% in spend from Indian visitors, and that is really significant compared to other markets. So I think the potential that we're seeing is very important, and that is obviously manifested by the demand in airlift as well, and especially the expansion that Air India has given to SFO. So we're seeing really good potential for the next few years, also from a visitor standpoint.
Air India is planning to increase this fleet size by multiple times, and I guess San Francisco would be one of the major things. Are you offering any kind of incentives to Air India or other airlines to increase the more flights from San Francisco airport?
Yes, we have an air carrier incentive program for both certain types of domestic and international flights, and it provides a series of options for fee waivers for certain airport fees and charges. There's marketing support and incentives, and it's for new and unserved markets is generally how that's applied.
And that's also why we're partnering up. We're sort of the marketing partner for San Francisco International Airport. So with Air India, we then helped create a marketing program to really promote these flights. And there's different elements to these programs, and they're all customized. So, but there could be a direct-to-consumer element, there could be a trade element. So, really, an all-around support package in addition to the direct support that goes to the airline. But we're really creating marketing messages as well to promote the destination in the marketplace here in India.
Of the people who prefer to travel to San Francisco airport among the Indian Americans, do you have a kind of profile for them? Which kind of people they are? I guess they would be mostly having either businesses, relatives, or universities in the Bay Area, California side, or what kind of profile have in?
Yeah, it's a mix of traffic. Certainly what we call in the industry, we call VFR traffic, visiting friends and relatives, is a strong component of this market. There is, without a doubt, there's a strong business component as well when we look at the the base of tech companies within the Bay Area and the strong connection to many markets in India. So that's part of the strength of this market, is that it's not just purely leisure and it's not just purely business. It's a very healthy mix of both.
And I think India is unique in that perspective, that from a destination perspective, India crosses all segments. The visiting friends and family or friends and relatives segment. There's the business travel, but there's also the leisure component.
Thank you.
And sometimes it's combined. We see a lot of visitors who may visit or spend time with relatives or friends, but they may add on additional days in the area to spend, or a business traveler may also add a few days of leisure travel. The leisure segment has been important in India pre-pandemic, and I think that's something that's coming back as well. So I think for India, that's really we're crossing really all different segments, and that's good, and that's, I think, manifests in these numbers as well that we're seeing.
The numbers that you're given is quite impressive. Coming back from the pandemic, now pre-pandemic, it's increasing. One of the things could lead to further increase, maybe multiple jumps, is if the visa wait period is addressed. That to what extent, currently there's 1 year, sometimes 2 years wait list period for visitors visa, business visas, students is exceptions. To what extent that is impediment in growth, traffic growth between San Francisco and India?
It's a very big impediment. We consider it, and our partners at the U.S. Traveler Association, who I'm sure you're familiar with, it's an inhibitor to export, right? Tourism is an export, and if you have wait times that exceed 400, 500 days, that is essentially blocking exports. So we have been advocating, as well as other destinations around the country, in partnership with the U.S. Travel Association, to really work with the government to ensure that these visa wait times are decreasing, that embassies have additional staffing that maybe there's more virtual components implemented as well to facilitate the process. But yes, that's a big issue. If people have to wait, hundreds of days to get an appointment, that is not good. And I think that's something that we cannot do anything directly about it, but we're advocating with our partners in the industry as well, with the U.S. Travel Association, to ensure that the government understands that this is actually directly inhibiting the export of tourism. We do understand on the flip side, though, that there are about 5 million visa holders currently in India that have multi-year visas. So that doesn't eliminate the fact that these wait times are an impediment, but there's good news that we already have a lot of visa holders here in India. And my understanding is that the U.S. Department of State has a goal of issuing 1 million visas to Indian citizens this year. And I from what I've heard, I would have to confirm that, but from what I've heard, they're on track to get to that number this year.
Yeah, I think they already reached some.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the spending part, can you repeat that figure again for me? And how is it for the entire volume or per person, per visitor?
Yeah, the visitor spend, the forecast spend for 2023 is about $436 million. So that's the totality that Indian visitors will spend, and we're expecting that to increase by about 63% for 2024, which is a significant number. So when you compare that to other markets and more established markets, that is a very different picture that you're seeing. So again, I think that really underscores the importance of the India market.
On your ongoing India trip, can you give us a sense who all you have met, and any MOU, agreement has been reached during this trip?
We're meeting with all the airline partners here in the marketplace, or most of the airline partners here in the marketplace. And as I mentioned, we want to reconnect with trade partners, meaning the travel trade, understand what they're seeing, how we can support the travel trade, and then again, the media. There are currently no plans of an MOU, but we're always open to any of those if that comes up in discussions. And again, it's a good time to be back here and really understand what the market needs so that we can better service this market, not just from an airline perspective, but from a destination development perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, we're always open to new partnerships and new ideas of how we can leverage opportunities here.
How do you overall see India's airlines industry as an observer, as someone from the industry itself?
It's certainly growing rapidly, and it's changing. With dynamics that, as I've learned while I've been in country the last few days, are certainly reflective of the growth in the country. Travel is being accessed by more and more citizens in India, and there seems to be a lot of demand both in the current market, but in the forecast market. And so with the investments we see the airlines are making here in country with aircraft purchases, Air India's work on rebranding and really kind of redefining the airline, and I think reestablishing it in some ways even. It's an exciting time. There's airport development in this country that is just absolutely remarkable. When we look at the numbers around airport development, that in 2014 there was 74 airports in India, and I heard today at lunch there will be 220 airports in this country by 2030. That's astounding. And the network effect that comes with that is, as more and more of the population here has access to air travel, that kind of stimulation is really, really exciting. So from the U.S. perspective, it's the market to watch, certainly, and the market to be a part of. We're extremely excited from our perspective in San Francisco to be this gateway from the West Coast to India.
Right. How do you see the airports itself, the infrastructure inside the airport, the way the airport has been built? How do you see that?
Uh, the experience I had arriving here in Mumbai was excellent. Beautiful facility,
Mhm.
efficient, extremely busy, and well utilized, which certainly is leading to future airport development here with Navi as a second airport to serve the region. So it does seem that the demand that is both existing and expected is getting the infrastructure investment that the country is going to need to achieve that. Uh, the runway capacity, the terminal capacity are all critical parts of ensuring that growth, and there seems to be some very clear plans in place to address that. So um, what I've seen so far, I'm very impressed with.
Mhm.
Any room for improvement you see? What are the best practices Indians can learn from San Francisco airport in the market?
Well, as I travel to airports around the world, you always see different things in different places, and
Mm.
I can assure you, no one's gotten it all right anywhere. We all learn from each other. I think one of the important parts of being a world class airport is once the passenger arrives and they're transitioning from the air travel portion of their journey to getting to their final destination, that there's good options for ground transportation, for rail, for bus, for cars, however they're going to access the local community, that planning is integrated to airports carefully. We were the first airport in the U.S. to really effectively connect to local rail with our BART system, and we're very proud of that. It's a very powerful link from the airport to the region, and there was a lot of investment made in that years ago that has served us very well. So I think that interface between the airport and the community is one to look carefully at. As airports are growing and these communities are growing, it has to all work together to make the system work effectively.
Any recommendations for the Indian government, Indian side? Just like I asked you that, how the US can improve the experience in terms of visa and other things. Where are the areas where Indians would can better, Indian government can help better facilitate smooth travel and from people to people connectivity?
I think it's cooperation and clarity in understanding, the impact of the need and the unmet need. And, as Hubertus mentioned, it's a blockade to an export business when you don't have that capacity available through visas. So I think, at the diplomatic level, it's an important issue to address because um, it furthers the commerce between our two countries and their prosperity. So it's a very important matter.
Yeah.
Great. In addition to Air India, do you think any other Indian airlines would have are making any move for reaching out to the US or San Francisco?
I would have to imagine that there is a lot of work being done to assess markets. Different airlines have different strategies when it comes to international, but with the future demand picture for India, I would imagine there's some careful evaluation going on.
Mhm.